Are retro games actually better than the current stuff that's being produced right now, or are we just looking through rose-colored HUDs? I got an answer for you. The average age of gamers is rising as the initial generations aren't stopping playing video games at all. In fact, they continue playing. But as we continue to look through our much maligned reading glasses and ask what went wrong with gaming, we need to ask ourselves, are we being too harsh on the current generation? And my initial swag at this is, yeah. So let's explore what retro gaming is and why some people think it's better and others are thinking that we're just old fogies. Now, the argument for retro gaming is that it was pure, it was happy, there were no microtransactions. You bought a game, you owned the game, you could play it forever. In fact, if you own a retro console and you still own the games, as long as the console hasn't given up the ghost, you can play it on just about any TV because there are ways to get it all the way across to HD TV. But do those games really play as well as we remember? And yes, I know games used to not hold your hand, but they also weren't quite as open world. Today we don't have to do with as many movie tie-ins, but we also don't get gems like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. And really, was The Lion King always this hard? No, really, why was it this hard? Graphics, yes, 8-bit and 16-bit retro pixels, they look cool on CRT TVs, but they don't really translate well to LEDs. But LED TVs and QLED and all these other screens are making fantastic, awesome looking games, and you can't argue that the graphics today are much, much better than the 8-bit and 16-bit. Now, that's not maligning anything that the producers or the developers did back in the day. They were simply limited by the technology of their time. They did amazing things with sound, they did amazing things with graphics, and they made games because they enjoyed gaming. So we're going to talk about some of the tangibles, the graphics, the sound, gameplay, and, well, hardware. Because back in the day, you couldn't really do too much with graphics because it was 8-bit, 16-bit, and you got to the N64, which seemed like it was incredibly realistic compared to what had come before it. But now you look at it and it looks very clunky, very blocky. Sound, I mean, once again, if you had 8-bit sound, you only had 8 bits of sound. There wasn't much to work with, and they did a wonderful job with it. But can you really compare Metroid sound with, say, Breath of the Wild or Doom's original soundtrack to Doom Eternal's soundtrack now? I don't think you can. And even games that are made by indie developers like Nova Drift today have wonderful scores for their soundtracks compared to the original Asteroids or Space Invaders. It's the same essence and the same spirit of the game, but we're making better games today based on the amazing games of the past. Now that brings us to the intangibles, and we're talking about the feel, the community, what the publishers and developers are actually pushing towards, and whether this just feels like a money grab now or it was made with the spirit of gaming. As with most things that have a nostalgic feel to it, we remember the good over the bad. So there were a lot of games that came out that you're just like, this is a terrible game, i.e. movie tie-ins. Those were pure money grabs. But when you go back and you think about the good games, that's really all you want to focus on because we enjoyed playing those more. Now compare that to today's games, there are some wonderful games out there made by indie developers, made by big publishers and big studios, but it just depends. It's game to game. Some are going to be great, some are going to be terrible, some are just money grabs filled with microtransactions, and others are actually passionful games. You can use EA as a current publisher that has actually hit both ends of the spectrum, with Jedi Fallen Order being a wonderful masterpiece of a game, and EA Madden and FIFA, because those games are just terrible and money grabs, and they never update anything. But really the biggest intangible of anything that has to deal with gaming is the community. Now, growing up as a kid, I remember fondly playing with friends and having to watch my friend try and beat my high score and then being royally upset that I could never beat their high score, or vice versa, they'd be upset never beating my high score, which always happened, right? I remember the community aspect, the social part of gaming. And that brings back the warmth and the memories and all the positives of gaming, instead of bringing back the times I got stuck on levels and I couldn't beat it, the times I got frustrated with bugs, or the time that games just simply didn't work, or they just weren't fun. So we have both ends of the spectrum at both timelines. There will always be great games from the past, there will always be good games in the now. But where did the couch co-op go? Where did these games that we can play locally with our friends? Once again, we can go back to Madden, we can go back to FIFA, they're there, but those games are money grabs. And I think this is where Nintendo is really making their money, because they're going through and they're making wonderful couch co-ops. Yes, I know PlayStation, Xbox, PC all have good co-ops, but at the same time, Nintendo's killing it with couch co-op. You got Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, I mean, just go down the laundry list, it's everything. So I'm not saying that retro games are bad, I'm saying that they're amazing feats for the technology of their time. But technology and resources of the 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s does not match with the capabilities of the past 5 years, especially in the last few with new console generations, the most powerful graphics cards ever built, and enough processor and RAM power that computers and consoles can boot up in mere moments. Also, you can, once again, run Doom on your refrigerator. But yes, I do miss doing Ninja Turtles or Duck Hunt or N64 GoldenEye and Star Fox and trading controllers back and forth or doing couch co-op. But is it because those games are better, or because I miss that environment of playing them? I'd argue it's more the latter than the former. I was a kid, I was awestruck, and I was amazed at what games could do. I escaped from reality to battle the Empire and Shadows of the Empire, or Rogue Squadron, as my initial interest in Star Wars was just budding into what would today be called a minor obsession, maybe. And new technology can't replace amazing writing and effort. So Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, although clunky and boxy by today's standards, still scratches that itch for an RPG playthrough. I mean, it brings that real meaning and agency, probably only rivaled by the release of The Witcher 3. And if you look at Diablo 2, it looks dated, but the core gameplay is so solid that it still plays very well. And I mean, it took years for Diablo 3 to become a worthy successor, because they had to basically scrap half the game mechanics and redo the entire game process just to make it somewhat like Diablo 2. And I fondly remember playing on the couch, sitting next to my friends, trading the controller back and forth, having a great time, just trying to beat each other's high scores or trying to get past a level that's kicking all of our butts. But at the same time, we had fun together. And that's what gaming was about. And that's what gaming's about today. And this is probably why Nintendo has been absolutely crushing it. I mean, yes, COVID helped, but I mean, they have everything for couch co-ops. Yes, PS5, Xbox, everybody has co-ops, but the only console that's like made and designed for couch co-op and being able to hang out with your friends is the Nintendo Switch. So Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros, Super Mario Party, Hyrule Warriors, Animal Crossing. I mean, when we're forced to be isolated for an extended period of time, doing that couch co-op is something that we all kind of crave. And it gets us back to the retro roots. But it also brings back this itch to go do Diablo 2 LAN parties or Halo LAN parties and all these other LAN parties, so I can just go hang out with the gamers and enjoy the gaming atmosphere. Just hopefully everybody showers now and eat something besides stale pizza, because that's usually not a great recipe for success. Couch co-op aside, did GoldenEye really look better than Apex Legends? No, but it does offer something completely different. What about Halo Combat Evolved? I mean, we could go through and link two Xboxes together and have 4v4 team deathmatches with some of the best tournaments of our youth. No, even with the upgraded graphics, Halo CE doesn't compare or play as smooth as Halo 4 or 5. But the writing in Halo 5 is so convoluted that does it really matter how smooth it plays? So the question comes down to, are retro or modern games better? It really is subjective, but we can look at the retro games with rose-tinted HUDs because we can eliminate a lot of the bad ones. Now, we need to objectively look back and even play those games before we say they were definitively better. I believe that many were better in spirit because publishers and developers weren't just out for money at that point in time, but the technical capabilities are infinitely better in games today. If a game in 2021 releases with excellent level design, with the sound design, the spirit, the ability to play with your friends as easily as it used to be, then that game will absolutely crush it. And I don't think people quite understand that we're missing some of the spirit of gaming, and that's why retro's kind of making a comeback, because they're fun, they're hard, they're challenging. It's not all about making a microtransaction or having a loot box system. That's not what makes people excited for a game. It's having a challenge. Yeah, dying in The Lion King sucked, but when you beat it, it was one of the best feelings in the world. You knew you earned that. And that's why retro games were awesome. Not always better, but definitely some of them were awesome.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
So I know that it's kind of convoluted. I never said that retro gaming or modern gaming is exclusively better than the other, but okay. So modern gaming has better technology, retro gaming probably has better spirit for some of the games, but that doesn't rule out all the games. And in fact, I didn't even touch on indie gaming. So hit me up down in the comments below and let me know what your favorite retro game is, what your favorite modern game is, or if it's an indie game that you think just really stands out. Because gaming is gaming and we're here for the community aspect. We're here to be good people. And I really enjoy just gaming with good people. Speaking of, I do stream. Right now it's reduced a little bit because work is absolutely insane. I know that's weird to say while we're still in COVID, but work's still being insane. Mostly streaming Wednesday nights, about 9 o'clock Eastern. I can't guarantee that's always going to happen, and we're looking to add a second night back into the schedule. We're also going to keep going through and adding more content to ridirgaming.com, so go bookmark that page. We also have some freebies that are going to be going up on the site. These are going to be ways to use gaming to help communication bridge, to help with learning, to help the family actually enjoy their time, and making the community a better place for everyone. This is Wes from Ridir Gaming. Do good, play hard, game on, and I'll see you next time.